Hello and welcome to the 49th episode of the Gochuucast. However, we are now ending the Gochuucast in order to bring you the Oshinoko podcast.
A small intermission.
Yeah, I guess warning, if you haven't watched Oshinoko, get the fuck off the podcast and go watch that shit. What are you doing? Then come back. Yeah, don't leave us entirely. Come back.
Yeah. Spoiler warning, we're going to be talking about the first episode of Oshinoko. So,
Yes.
The movie. The movie.
Yeah, the movie,
Right.
the prologue, episode 1, the whole shebang. But yeah, I have been spending months gassing up that first episode, and I was very excited to see that even my expectations were not high enough to match what I think the anime did.
and I have been spending months avoiding spoilers for this series and deciding not to read it because I wanted to go in fresh. And that'll also be a fun perspective because I don't want to say I wasn't expecting the things that happened, but also like this is not what I thought I was signing up for, I guess, in a good way.
Yeah, I mean, going in blind is like, because it's so odd, like going into it and knowing everything's gonna happen, and even then, it doesn't matter sometimes, right? You can predict what's gonna happen.
Yeah,
I
feel
physically
like
know what's going to
knowing-
happen, but it doesn't. It still hits because of just how well done it was.
Oh yeah, I was watching with Mars, and we were just talking during the episode, talking about, oh god, they're gonna do this later, aren't they? And stuff like that. Like, it's not like we didn't know what was gonna happen when it happened. It's just before I clicked play on the episode, I had no idea what it was gonna happen. And then an hour and a half later, it's just pain.
Yeah, I have not had that kind of experience with an anime since I watched Clannad After Story, and that's saying something. I still don't think it's on like the same level as that, but I mean, instead of just like the single like tear roll, I was crying. I've not had that good of a cry from an anime in a really long time, like 6 years.
It's impressive.
Yes, it was very well done.
This is talking about After Story, or
No, After Story I cried like 20 quadrillion
Single
times. No, not single tear. No, that was like baby bitch crying. But I mean, Oshinoko, obviously the scene in which I is no longer with us was just from start to finish just so well done that like I couldn't have not cried, whether I knew it was going to happen or not.
I know it's kind of out of order to start at this point. Can we also talk about how like they popped off with the way that they animated her after she had passed on?
Oh, the art direction in that whole sequence was just insane.
Crazy.
It's good overall, I think, throughout the episode.
Yeah.
And that was just like I said, by that point, I knew that this was going to be coming, and I still wasn't ready for how it came.
Yeah, because like, I mean, the flags were there, and you can like generally tell. Like in the manga, it's much more obvious because of. I think what the anime did a good thing of is they cut out some flash forwards that kind of gave even more flags, and so the anime didn't have those, and so you know there's still like a little bit of hope in you. Whereas in like the manga, where you're like, yeah, this is not about to go well, but.
Even at the end when she, has stabbed and the murderer is leaving, and we have Mr. Doctor Boy there as a baby, I'm still in my heart but what if he saves her somehow because he was a doctor? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know what
because at that point I have assumed for a long time that she is going to die, and it's happening, right? And I'm like, this makes sense, but also what if he just doctored her?
Yeah, it's like one of those things where you're like, maybe she can, and then he says the abdominal aorta, which is the largest blood vessel in the body. Just no.
He says what happened, and it's like, oh, she's like not savable by anyone. If 911 ambulance was there right then, she is still not savable. And that's like the realization you get when he says that. But before he says that, I still was like, but what if?
Yeah, it's just very like gut wrenching scene that I mean I so I have a video. Probably that we're recording this on Thursday. It'll be a Friday when theoretically it comes out. I had to go back to like fact check myself just to. I had already, I read the manga. I watched the what's it called, the anime, and then I rewatched the anime because I watched the episode and I'm like, fuck, that was so good. And like later in the day, I'm like, okay, let me watch my other anime for the day. I got like a couple episodes in of stuff, and I'm like, fuck, dude, I can't watch anything else right now. And then I just fucking rewatched the episode. So I'm going through my script and I'm like, all right, let me just quadruple check my facts here, and I rewatched the scene. It gets me. It's gotten me every single time. I can't not. And I think it'll be. It's not the first scene to ever do that to me, but it's the second. So that's still pretty impressive what they've done. And just the direction in general, the art direction, animation, the voice acting, it was just all so good. I was not prepared for that scene.
Yeah, I thought the voice acting in general was like really good throughout.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The voice actor for the Aqua character is a voice actor that I'm somewhat familiar with from other
Let's
stuff
see.
that he's done. So I'm expecting him to do really good going forward, but I also think he did very well in this as kind of more, I guess, serious voice acting role than what I know him from. In a lot of his roles I know of were like
Okay, I haven't heard him in anything, or like he's in like Beastars apparently. I guess like Haikyuu, you've seen that one, so
yeah.
there's that.
Let me go find everything. So he's
Yeah.
let me go find because there was a lot of stuff that I knew him from.
Oh,
One
he's
of them
in,
being Sekai, but Sekai is a different.
he's in fucking Mononogatari. That's unfortunate. I didn't realize that his role here is considerably different than his role in that shit.
The main character I would know him from is main character from Run with the Wind,
Oh,
which very good sports anime for anyone who likes sports anime and wants a recommendation. But that's the main role I know him from, and I think he was Toya. Maybe not. I might be mixing him up, but I'm pretty sure he's Toya from Sekai. I could be
I
wrong
don't
on
think
that.
he is. I'm looking at the list and he's not.
yeah.
Unless,
Doesn't seem to have that many roles.
yeah,
He did like 5 characters in Beastars apparently.
it does not look like unless non-anime roles. No, he's an Idol Master, but he's not in Sakai or anything like that.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Who am I thinking of? Anyway, it's not important.
but he's good. Yeah.
What is pretty crazy voice actress wise is Ruby's voice actress. This is her first like real role. Like on any list it only has one listed, but looking at her like actual profile, she has done Student B in Duel Masters. In Chikamori,
Okay.
she was Shopper and others. And whenever
First main role.
Megaton
Yeah.
class Musashi, she was operator. So this is her first non-background
Yeah.
character.
Yeah,
Not
not
even,
extra.
but yeah, just like literally just an extra, like a movie extra. So realistically, this is her first actual role voicing a character, and it just so happens to be one of the mains of pretty big series. So this is going to be quite the springboard for her going forward. And she did a very good job.
Yeah, she did a really good job. I feel like going forward, I don't want to say the character is going to be more demanding, but I do kind of feel like, as someone who doesn't know the content from here, I'm interested where both of the twin characters go in terms of direction and stuff like that. Because that's like the big question I have from the end of this is, I understand our goals going forward. Find the father murderer for
Right.
Aqua, and then for Ruby, kind of just like continue mom's legacy in a way or something along those lines. with the end where she was talking about, being an idol and stuff like that. That's not exactly what the motivation is, but something along those lines.
Yeah. I think that's funny. I think it will be interesting to see how
I
the
also
voice
have
acting
figured out.
moves along. So
I also have figured out my confusion with Aqua's voice actor. So,
Is like the kid version what you recognize versus the actual voice actor?
so I just didn't realize that because I hadn't been paying attention when I was looking into this, that he's voice actor, and I'm assuming his singing voice actor are different. So he
okay.
has multiple voice actors tied to the character. It's
Oh,
the easy way to put it.
I see.
okay.
Because so his main voice actor is the one that is the Run from the Wind character. He has a child voice actress, and then a voice actor, which the Toya voice actor, which is labeled as former self.
Oh, as like Goro, the like doctor. Yeah, okay.
Oh, when you put it that way, that makes sense. All right.
Yeah, because they ain't got him listed on here, which is unfortunate for him, I guess. But
Yeah. So okay, so most of the performance would have been the Run with the Wind voice actor, which is the one that we'll also be getting going forward. But that's interesting. That was the confusion, is that I know
okay.
both of these voice actors, and I am bad at voice actors and definitely mix them together into the same person in my head.
I mean, you technically were it off. He did technically voice him just for like 5 seconds, but
which also I would like to say, I think that was the thing that for me was the most shocking, was the moment when they killed off his doctor self. Because later on in the series, the things happen, or the series, in the episode, things happen, and I've kind of expected it because I've realized, like, oh, this is a tragedy. But that was like the turning point where I realized, like, oh, it's this kind of story. Was the moment when, like, it, there were flags, it felt like something was going to happen to the doctor, but I didn't expect him to just get straight up murdered.
Yeah, I didn't expect it. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just oblivious to the flags, which is probably true. I mean, but well, I guess the main flag was like the
Main flag
girl.
for
There's
them
a girl
having
talking like, "What if you were reborn as a celebrity, right? Or celebrity's kid, or whatever, right?"
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I zero.
But I just like it didn't register. It's like, okay, yeah, it's like a comment like someone would make, It's not like I don't know.
I had
It didn't
zero
register
thought
until it
about
happened.
that comment until he was dying.
Yeah, same.
The flags that I got for him were when him and I were having the conversation in the hospital room right before she was going to give birth, and it was like, oh, make sure you come right as I call you, and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, something's going to happen. He's not going to be there, right? That's obvious, but
Yeah.
don't necessarily know what. And my mind was just not in the place of like, oh, he's going to die, because that is like a crazy turn, even with all the hints. Like, it should have been obvious. They're talking about the reincarnated as an idol's child and all of this. He has these flags. Something's going to happen to him, because why is this weirdo doctor character important to us right now? And stuff like that. But it's still like, I never thought in my mind that next like 5 minutes where he dies and he's reincarnated as one of the twins just didn't pop into my mind over that time span for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. I just didn't consider it as I mean, like, it makes sense in hindsight. I think for me, I was just like trying to understand the story as I went along, so I didn't think about it. I'm very oblivious to foreshadowing until it like the thing happens, and I go back and like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
And then you look and you're like, oh yeah, they've been telling us that this is gonna happen.
Yeah, when Homegirl said it, I didn't think much of it when I was first reading it. But then there were like random dudes in the lobby who were saying it. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
I see.
Was there more conversation to it than just her? I don't remember.
She said it, and then on the TV when they showed like an idol getting married to some dude, the guy was like,
Oh,
if I died right now, I would be reborn I could be reborn as their child. And his friend's like, that's kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
I
Oh, it's a wish for
think I
sure.
remember that happening, and I think I didn't even register what was being said at that moment. But
Yeah, I vaguely remember, but that's not something I vividly remember. But it makes sense. I mean, they have to include more foreshadowing than just that. I felt like I mean, I just think the premise of the story itself, it's like it's definitely out there, but it's like it's super cool. I liked it. That's like the best part for me.
it also made sense as foreshadowing because the whole time I was watching that, like, I guess little intro sequence, I didn't really like the Doctor that much, but also I was kind of like, well, what's the point of spending so much time in this
Bro,
cancer?
the doctor's a big fan, bro. Just
Doctor's
dedicated.
Doctor's a bit of a weirdo, and they like specifically overstate it, which I think is kind of funny because like he is, but also they make it so much worse by the way that they like treat him over it. The assistant
Yeah, leave him alone, man. He's
nurse
just a big
just
fan.
being like, yeah, if I walked up to you right now and said, "Want a phone?" Would you do it? And he's like,
It's just
"Can't
it's
answer."
just a way to emphasize it. Yeah, it's just a way to emphasize how loyal he is to his favorite idol. You know what?
Least creepy idol fan.
Yeah, at least I'm saying least dedicated.
That's the
This
thing,
man
though,
got
right?
stabbed. There's obviously big. There's always a bigger fish.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true.
That is the funny thing is that they treat him like the super creepy character, and he has like those moments, but he's actually a somewhat normal guy.
He's not even like that creepy. Like it's just that
Yeah,
one comment is like out of pocket or whatever.
yeah. They lead off with these comments here and there that just make him out of pocket, or like it was funny when they open with him watching a show and like narrating it, and
Just in a fucking
the
patient's room.
nurse is just like, you can't just play this in a patient's room. Which, first of all, why the fuck not? But also,
Yeah, if he consented to it, it's totally fine.
it was just
Okay,
kind
dude.
of. But yeah, so like everything building up to that moment made total sense in hindsight. But while I was
Mhm.
watching it, I kind of was just like, all right, so like, where are we going?
Yeah,
And knowing it's from the author of Kaguya, I knew it got crazy at some point, but I was also like, so is this going to be like a Dr. Idol story? Like, is this going to be a romance of some sort? Because I don't know if I'm down for that, the way they're building these characters. And, thinking stuff like that. And then you get to that point where it's like, oh, we're doing this.
yeah. It was definitely a shock to me the first time I read it, especially in the manga.
It was kind of fun that the most telegraphed thing after he's reborn was the fact that, like, oh, this is going to be the cancer girl. Like, I think
I didn't register it until well, I didn't think about it. It's not like revealed until they're in that
until
room,
like a
right?
little bit later, yeah.
Yeah,
Probably
at
like a
night.
chapter or two for readers. I think it was
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
10,
I
10
remember.
15 minutes.
Yeah.
I immediately was like, oh, they're twins. So the sister's gonna be the cancer girl because otherwise, why do we care about the cancer girl?
He was
Yeah.
just
Which,
in
to
like
be
the
fair,
reincarnation awaiting room for
yeah,
4 years.
which is also a funny thing is the
Oh, that's
idea,
true. Yeah. I don't know how time works, but
because for him it's
works.
like, oh
It
yeah,
was
this
like
thing
literally
literally
instant.
Yeah,
being
yeah, yeah.
born at the same moment that he is dying. So it's
Yeah.
like,
What are
okay,
the
I guess
reincarnation mechanics, bro? They
apparently
never
she's
expand on
been
that.
in the waiting room.
Yeah, she's stuck
Um,
in purgatory for like ages. But yeah,
which
I don't know.
also, like, I think it won't be addressed or important probably, but it does make me wonder why specifically those two are the two that reincarnated.
I think.
I
Maybe
know
because they
Well,
it's
were
plot
her
convenience.
biggest fans or something. I don't
yeah,
know.
it's just, they're
Yeah,
fans, right? I guess that's like the reason.
I get it. And
Because
it's
it
like
makes
plot
for an
convenience.
interesting story.
Yeah,
This is why I say it'll never be addressed. But like, how does this reincarnation magic just like happen to select those two?
it's left to the reader for
You know
interpretation
what?
for the watcher.
You can just accept it, or you can pull a Tokyo Revengers and make like the worst explanation of all time, and then get shit on for it. So I think just never
Yeah,
address
you just interpret it. It's up to you,
it's literally magic type of shit. Like just
It
you
is.
don't need to
bro. It's
address it.
anime.
Yeah, it's literally it's just suspend your disbelief type of thing. Like it doesn't matter how it happened. It happened. That's just how it is.
It happened, and now we're a freaking
And that's true. And
pacifier
that's
sucking
fine.
2-year-old.
Yeah, and so now we're babies now,
Yeah, no.
and I don't know. It how do I put it? It was interesting how they approached them being children, because I couldn't tell at what points they were like actually talking as children versus like baby talking to each other, which I assume some of those
And
I
dialogue
I
think
think
was
they were always just
they were
talking.
always, yeah, because like,
Do you think so?
It's
okay,
just not
babies
because you
cannot
have your
communicate like that.
I
Like,
feel
yeah.
like when I was watching, there were like definitely instances that they were just talking out loud as like toddlers, and any
how do
functioning
they
adult
communicate
could have.
like that
Well,
much? Like,
I
it's
mean,
crazy.
if they're like, because they'll always have them off in the background or whatever talking,
Yeah, yeah.
and but then when the time came to manipulate the homegirl into
Yeah,
thinking
that's
that they
the
were
most
gods.
confusing part of this is that they clearly talk to her.
Well,
So that's
they
what
talk to.
throws
I know
me off.
because, but the thing is, no one is paying attention to them when they are talking to each other. Like if you think about the instances in which they did talk to each other, um, it came the first time we see them talk to each other is when she's asleep on the couch or whatever, so she didn't hear any of that. Uh, and then they had the little flashback where Ruby is roasting people on Twitter or whatever and telling them to go kill themselves. And so obviously no one was there then because it's nighttime, everyone's asleep. And then
I will say Ruby's relationship with social media as a baby in this was hilarious at times. She would just be on the phone, like, what the fuck?
hey, she was like no internet etiquette, I guess. I mean, understandable. He lived in a hospital bed for X amount of years, just watching idols the whole time, pretty much. But, and then like the next time that they talk to each other in like is when the one girl is. Fuck, I don't even know. I can't remember her name. I'm horrible. I read the manga, and it's not like she's irrelevant. She's very much still there. But manager lady is she's looking for dirt and taking pictures or whatever. They're like far in the far back of the room, like whispering to each other, like, yeah, we gotta fucking kill her or some shit. Like,
Yeah.
so there's no point in which they talked that like another person would have been like, why the fuck are these babies talking? Until they're like, okay, I have an idea, and then they pretend to be God. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I need to rewatch some of the scenes. I feel like there were sections where they were talking that I was like, shouldn't someone be hearing this right now? But maybe I'm just like,
Just suspend your. I mean,
Sus-
it's anime, bro.
no, that's fine. But I think it would be more funny if they had just always been communicating with each other through like baby talk, because you know how they say like babies can talk to each other.
I don't
And
believe
Yeah,
that,
but then they
maybe
wouldn't have been
that's-
able to like do their God manipulation stuff.
no, I know. That's the thing. They definitely talk with the god manipulation stuff, which is what makes it kind of fun to think about if they could do both. Which
That would be very confusing for the viewer, and also like I feel like it would be needless time waste, especially like if you're doing the manga per se.
oh, absolutely. It doesn't need to be addressed unless it's in like a little side questionnaire thing and someone just asks the author and is like, so were they always talking? And the author's like, yep, they were, or no, they weren't. Like that's the type of stuff that you get with like One Pieces, where random facts will be added hundreds of chapters later because they're answered in like a Q&A and not in the actual material.
Classic.
But yeah, I don't know. I liked the baby stuff. It kind of felt like both of the twin characters um were not the same as they were in their previous lives, which I kind of liked. Like they were
I mean,
influenced.
it's like the circumstance
Kind of.
in their life has certainly changed. Like,
Yeah.
and
No, I know.
yeah, and so it
And
kind of
that's
like
why
forces the.
like it's interesting because they do seem to have their own like new unique personalities while also being influenced by their previous lives. At least that's kind of
Yeah.
how it felt to
Yeah,
me.
like especially with like respect to the idols, I guess like or the idol. I mean, right? Like the girl was like super obsessed. She was like defending her from like meme comments and stuff like that. There's still a little bit in there. And, I guess later on when they get to the choreography scene where she tries to dance, I mean, I feel like that was like, um, I mean, obviously there's a flashback, but that's like something she always wanted to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
But she wasn't able to because she was sick. So it's like those aspects are still there. It's just, yeah, I mean, it's a completely different situation. So it's I mean, how they approach everything is just different. And they're freaking babies,
I
right?
feel like with your mic, you're like going back and forth as if you're like
My bad,
on a fucking pendulum or some shit.
dude.
Sometimes you're
I'm going crazy. Can you hear me better now?
yeah.
We can.
I feel
I
like
don't
you're
know
just
if that's
naturally
something
moving around
you're-
and
Okay,
yeah,
dude. I'm just so excited. That's no,
yeah.
I'm stable.
I did enjoy, as someone who worked in film production, studied a lot of that stuff. I enjoyed the way that this portrayed kind of that business at times, because there were obviously like anime things with it, but like the sequence where he calls up the the big director guy and is like, "Hey, yo, why is I not in any of these scenes?" And he's essentially just like, "Listen, the person that we cast as the main character of this, we're like in a contract with them, and we have to make sure that that character looks good in the product." So the hand was kind of tied, and it's like,
Yeah.
for us as the perspective of like being the pro eye crowd and the readers, we're like, what the fuck? But that's like real things that happens,
No,
and
it's business. It's business.
like the
It's like
business sides, the contracts, like all of that matters in almost as much, if not more so, than the end product a lot of the time.
Yeah. Something I do want to say while we're kind of like in like the first half of content, I suppose. I saw obviously like I read the manga and so Twitter's stealing my data and all that stuff. So they know I'm into this. They know the anime came out and so it's showing me like random ass people's tweets. And I don't know if this is like a large majority of people, but like some random ass dude came on time one night, two like Timmy or whatever, is in the for you for me. And he was like, oh, the animation was like whatever in the first half, which one I feel like it was consistent enough. Because
I mean,
they saved all
like,
of the there wasn't like anything to go crazy on. Like they had in like the mini concert or not the mini on the TV when she had her concert, like the start of that went fucking crazy for no reason or whatever. That's like the only moment you ever really had to do that. And so I see that coming, like it's pretty fucking like brain dead because all the moments you would use the good animation for, all you would use your movie budget for, are in the later half. Like we just talked about it, the dancing sequence or whatever when Ruby actually like started to learn to dance and they popped off. For like a split second when Aqua was doing his acting or whatever, of course his moment I think came much later at the end of the episode when he's like, oh, I'm gonna kill this motherfucker, and and art style change went crazy. And then of course the entire eye sequence had probably a considerable amount of time and attention paid to it. All the things that you would want to use your budget for are in the second half, so you don't want to go stupid for no reason in the first. And so I felt that was just like a pointless thing to look at.
Just kind of like, how much are we gonna pop off on like the babies pretending to be gods to trick the manager wife? And they did have some fun animation for that. It wasn't like crazy animation, but it that's like
The first half was more than enough with what they did. Like it was still good and it was consistent. It didn't go crazy all the time, but it didn't need to go crazy all the time. People want the fucking most insane animation every 2 seconds. It's like you only have so many frames to work with, and you can't be wasting those on pointless moments. Or not pointless moments, but like on every moment.
Speaking of pointless moments, I hate that this episode teased the fact that they could have found out who the other person was like 3 times, but I know damn well that it's going to be like an end series reveal. It's just, oh, we got to save something for later.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that they like wouldn't ask about it though, because it's like, how do you even like bring that up? Or like, you have no reason to bring it up. Like, oh yeah, who were you in your previous life? Like, the chance that they would know each other is so low that it doesn't really matter. And of course,
I mean,
they'd be like defensive about it, as like we saw with Ruby or whatever, because he did ask, and she's like, I don't want him to like think he's better than me or whatever. And it's probably a difficult thing to bring up anyway. So it's like, why even try and broach the topic?
Yeah, and I did like that scene at least established them being like, well, it's not that important. I don't know. Maybe I'm just like thinking about me, but I feel like I'm the type of person that would have at least been like, so like, what did you do? You know, I might in that situation if I'm Ruby, I may have not found out that homeboy Aqua was my doctor for when I was terminally ill, but I may have been like, oh, what did you do as a career? And he's like, oh, I was a doctor, and that might have been the end of the conversation for me.
I mean, you also have to understand she's like 12 technically.
I know she
so
is.
she's not going to be thinking about those things, especially because if you think about it, like, because mentally, technically, she's 12, but like even as she grows up as a kid, it's not like that mental strength gets that much better because it's not like her brain has been reset basically. Yeah. And so even if she has all those thoughts, it doesn't like she's not going to develop much further than that, really. Like she'll be obviously mentally stronger than any like fucking 2-year-old on the planet, but you know, it's not.
2-year-olds talk like her. I can tell you that much.
Which is what's kind of funny with him because he's just a full-grown adult, mentally. He's got a whole ass doctorate. I love seeing the memes people are making about him being a doctor already at the age of 3.
Yeah.
But I guess there are points where, like, what you're saying is true, where it's not like he always acts like an adult.
To be fair,
some sort of like nature to that.
Like, even as an adult, I mean, he was just like
he's dicking around
when he was like fanboying over the his favorite idol. I mean, that's like it's not something you would associate with someone who's being an adult, right? Or like typically, right? So I don't think he's like he may have been an adult in his work, but like he still had like a childish side to him. So
and then they fucking
in that sense, it's like
no one bats an eye at these babies just doing the craziest glow stick dance. No demand.
No, they did. They uploaded it to Instagram or whatever.
2 million people on Twitter, so 200,000 retweets.
Yeah, but no one was like, "Oh, it's how the fuck do babies do this?"
Well, nobody cares.
You don't need it.
People love babies. People just love babies.
Babies are dumb. It's how it goes. Yeah, they learned it on YouTube. The times are changing.
That is the animation moment that they popped off on that needs recognition. Is that little dance that they did.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like a pop off, but that was probably very difficult to animate as nicely as I think it was.
I do love like some of the moments when like obviously they go like out of baby character and like it gets blown off by in some stupid reason like I is like, oh, you just must be fucking genius because I'm super smart too. And then whenever Aqua kind of slips up in front of the director, he's like, what the fuck? And he's like, oh, YouTube. He's like, oh, that's crazy.
The director moments were so funny to me when he was just like, oh, that's how it is these days now. It's like, that's wild.
Dude, I fucking wish YouTube made kids that fucking smart. Instead, just makes
them, that'd be crazy.
Instead, they just watch like people scream for 10 minutes of a video or some shit, and
loud equals funny.
Loud equals funny, and they get fucking stupider now.
Bro, I want to see a 2-year-old talk like that. That'd be crazy.
That was like I spent so much of this trying to figure out like, oh, what is this director even seeing in this kid so much that makes him so obsessed with scouting him for this movie he wants to do.
Probably just having full conversations with a 2-year-old.
It was just really funny when the takeaway was essentially the fact that the baby is just so smart that it's creepy, and that's how it goes. Yeah. And I enjoyed it, but I was spent so much time trying to like figure out like why does the director care so much about this kid?
That's wild.
Which we also met other homegirl who I assume will probably be important.
Kana?
Yes.
Yeah, that's best girl.
But
very important.
That's why I know Daniel likes her a lot. We also met her during that scene, and it was an introduction.
She doesn't make a great first introduction, but I swear.
Yeah, she's kind of a brat.
Yeah,
she's the goat, I swear.
Oh, okay.
I don't dislike her from the introduction. Like, I'm sure a lot of people
I think she's
do.
annoying.
I just kind of was like, wow, she's a bit of a spoiled child. I hope that her, like, older personality is a little better.
Yeah, you know what? It's been, like, over 10 years since we've last seen her after time skip, so, you know. plenty of room for growth. And even like the director said it, like he like part of the reason he also had Aqua go in there is because he wanted to like get it through to her that she's not him or her, I guess. And to
Which
like
I feel like I understood from the anime, but I don't know if it was maybe more clear in the manga.
I feel it's one of those things where I guess if you're not like fully paying attention to the what's it called, the conversation, you could miss it.
Yeah.
But that's just how all
Like,
conversations are, I guess.
I got that from that scene, but I wasn't sure if that was like some takeaway I was supposed to have. It felt like a takeaway I was supposed to have, and you saying it confirms that, like, oh yeah, I was supposed to feel like that was also purposely something for her. But I don't know. She's an interesting character, given the fact that there's not a lot of characters for us moving forward after episode 1. To me, I'm interested to know how she is going to be tied back into this, and
I mean, you'll see relatively quickly, but
I assume by
No
episode
spoiler, no
2,
spoiler.
I'll probably
Yeah.
see her in some. It might be a teaser at the end of the episode, but I assume that she won't be gone long.
she is an important piece to the series, so she will not be gone for long.
Yes. But I liked the little side quests, I guess we did during that section, where it was kind of just hey, I know we made the doctor character kind of weird in the beginning, but let's make sure you like him by the end of this episode.
He wasn't. I feel like one of the scenes a lot of people probably take pretty horrendously out of context is when he said he'd give like consideration to the one girl when she turned 16.
Yeah,
but
that one.
But that.
No.
So the
that
way
that was not the scene that made me think he was weird.
the way I just want to touch on it real quick though. The way I interpreted that was like it was a very empty promise because he obviously he knew her condition, and so rather than just like straight up being like, no, fuck you, sorry. He's yeah, when you turn 16, just like, okay, well, fuck.
Yeah.
Yes,
Now you want to be sympathetic.
That is not one of the scenes that I think was contributing to him potentially being a creepy character. And I
what was
hope
it?
that
What was it?
It was just the way that they started out with him at times.
I think the only like one weird thing is like, oh, well, she said, date me, would you? Which like,
oh, okay.
I don't know. I guess like part of it's because like technically in Japan you can get married at 16.
I'm
not trying. I'm saying it's still weird, but I'm just saying like culturally,
I mean, you guys
it's not unallowed. It's still weird.
You guys are gonna hate my responses, but it's honestly just vibes mostly, and that's like how they wanted the character, I think, to be, where it's like not that he is a creep, but he has this like idol fan side of him. But it still doesn't change the fact that like there was that slightly creepy vibe, and up to that point, I didn't really know how I felt about him. Even after he's reincarnated, they was still like, I don't really know how I feel about our.
I mean, he was pretty like morally in check. Like he uses the bottle. He's not going down that route. I feel like
that was a very weird scene. It was kind of funny.
Well, it's an understandable thing to address. Like, is he because it's babies have to drink something.
It's not weird towards any character. Like, it's not like anyone's losing or gaining points from that scene. It was just kind of a silly scene to have, to me at least.
I thought it was pretty funny because, like, obviously he's taking the moral high ground while Ruby is like, I'm just getting a fucking load of fucking titty milk or whatever and bragging about it. I don't know.
That part was
it's just goofy.
Definitely weird.
Anyway, my takeaway here is not to be like, Aqua is a weirdo or anything, right? Like, I think that's what you guys are taking here. My takeaway is in the first half of the show, I feel like it's like very easy to not know where you stand with his character.
Yeah,
and
I don't mind
like my main thing. And I felt like that middle section where we, he's kind of helping to build up Ai's career and he's like doing all these things is what helped me a lot with being sold on his
Yeah,
character.
I like him overall. I mean, the weird moments are they're just moments. They're just they're just ways to show his dedication, I guess. So it's fine.
It's not that serious.
Yeah. I think like the
Oh my! I
oh god.
do inform you guys. I told my sister earlier to watch
Okay.
Oshinoko
Oh.
tonight, and she has just got to the stabbing. She just sent me a long text about it. So
Okay.
Yeah, I had
Yeah.
someone on another server as well that's watching it, and he paused it or whatever, and he like forgot about it, and I'm like, all right, fuck you. I muted him, and I forgot I gave him a get out of mute free card as like a birthday present or some shit.
That's crazy.
And so he's like, all right, unmute me. I'm like, okay, I did, and then I timed him out for an hour and said go finish it.
Yeah, I know a couple of people who were going to watch it over the weekend, so we'll see how they like it. I
just
told them
think
it was
it's
good. I
hilarious
read the
that
manga stuff.
as we're recording, I get so many texts from my sister about this end of the show.
Is she a fan?
I assume so. She's sending me texts in all caps.
Okay, all caps is a good sign. That's a very good sign.
Usually that means she is more excited, I think, than
usual.
Yeah. But anyway, that was just a fun little intermission that happened.
Where were
No,
we?
yeah, I was saying
we just finished on set. We've talked about the dancing stuff. The dancing stuff was so well done.
Yeah, it was. It actually
by
was.
the way.
I mean, it's like a big focal point for her character as well. Like,
yeah.
Like I do have this full script written out. I can reference it like any time. 28 words or 2800 words or whatever.
28 words. I was like,
28 word script. Yeah, let me turn that into a video. But that was like one of the main points I harped on when I talked about or not harped. Well, maybe. I feel like harped is like a negative connotation. Anyway, one of the main points I talked about was with her character was that scene because it was just so. It's kind of like her realization of
the fact that this is like a life.
Yeah, a lot of this prologue is like people finding their purpose and such, for better or for worse. Obviously, like Ruby finds a bit of purpose in her new life. She wants to kind of be like she wants to shine. She wants to take advantage of this new life in ways that she never could have dreamed of in her old one. Obviously, I is just trying to learn how to like truly love people. Obviously, she had a fucked up background or whatever, and she does that by the end, albeit in a very unfortunate way. And then Aqua, of course, discovers his new purpose. Because I feel like the way I looked at his character, the way he just, he doesn't give a fuck. He's kind of a goofy guy. Doesn't really seem to pay too much attention to his like actual job. It seems. I feel like he's like very unsatisfied with his life, and especially when he was like, "I'm grateful that dude murdered me because this is a much more enjoyable life." So I feel like he's very unsatisfied, but of course, his purpose was at first like, okay, I'm gonna watch over her and make sure she rises through the ranks. But then of course she's gone, and so his new purpose obviously is the driving point of the show, which I always found like very interesting when I first read
I guess we can talk about this now too. My biggest worry with his character going forward, which obviously you guys know how his character develops from here.
I only know a little bit more.
But this ending sequence of the episode feels eerily similar to me with Thorfinn's character in Vinland Saga. Not in terms of like their circumstances by any means, but in terms of like the fact that I think that there are parts of Thorfinn's character that I liked in Vinland Saga and parts I didn't like, and I really did not like the way that his character kind of became consumed by this like want for revenge. And in the same way that I wanted him to eventually grow past that, I wonder as Oshinoko goes forward, would I prefer this character to also kind of like progress past that, or for the conclusion to be, he gets his revenge, right?
I will say that he is a more complex character than Revenge Obsessed Thorfinn was.
And that's
Obviously,
fair.
the revenge is a big driving point of his character going forward, but he is he is a human too. I think is
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the most important thing to take home.
And that's good, because I think that obviously, I believe that Thorfinn's character will and kind of does get to that point eventually. I do just think that if this just became for the Aqua side just a one-sided, like, all of his motivation going forward is revenge, and the only thing he cares about is revenge, then it
I think
takes away a lot from
no,
that
I think
character.
I'm
No, no,
very
no.
confident it's gonna be like a lot. I still feel like I feel like it's still gonna be about the relationships uh with like him and other people. Like I don't think it's
Mhm.
like gonna be. Obviously, it's revenge driven, like to
I'm
some
not saying
extent.
I expect this. I'm saying that that's what would worry me.
Well, I don't.
If
I
that
just
makes
don't think it'll happen. It's like I don't know. I feel like him and Ruby. Like I feel like that's just gonna be like a huge point for them. Um, like yeah, I just think um that relationship is just it's
Mhm.
been too much of a focal point for most of the first episode to like
Speaking
to
of
abandon that
Ruby,
quickly.
I am interested to see what their dynamic is gonna look like, because we did have a big time skip at the end,
Yeah,
and obviously they're brother sister. From the little last scene, they seem to get along to some extent,
yeah.
as like a
I know a
normal
little
brother
bit,
and
but I'm not gonna
sister.
spoil. But yeah, I mean,
So
it's
I do wonder what the dynamics between them are gonna be now that they're like, I guess, both somewhat of functioning adults.
it's a well, yeah, okay, yeah, sure. Functioning is correct. Not, I mean, yeah, they're high
Me
schoolers.
knowing the everything, not able to
Yeah,
say
Yeah, yeah,
anything.
yeah, yeah. Don't spoil. But
That's my
we'll see, we'll
favorite
Let
see.
me
part
give you a
about.
whole dissertation on the next 105 chapters. Yeah.
Yeah, you can just recite the entire plot. Yeah, okay.
That's my favorite part about recklessly saying things right now, is that Daniel knows every answer to anything that I'm saying, and it's just gonna drive him crazy.
Me, like, yeah, I could give a whole dissertation on why his character is a good one or whatever, but I can't say anything.
It's actually bad. That's the plot twist. It's actually a bad character, and you actually hate him. Is
No,
that it?
I think that of the characters that are like important to the story, I don't think there's a bad character.
Good. Yeah, I've only met a couple more, so yeah. I'm actually surprised. I mean, obviously, like an hour and what was it, hour 22 minutes or so, hour
Yeah,
20, hour
hour
22, something like
22.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I was like actually surprised. I mean, I guess where they started and where they ended like makes sense. But I do, and like that's one of the reasons that I think it was like correct, quote unquote correct, to do like an hour and 22 long episode. Just because I mean, I haven't seen anything like it. So, but in the context of the story, it makes sense, right?
Yeah, like
Like
I
where they
don't think
end.
there was another way they could have
Yeah.
done it
Exactly.
and gotten the same result. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just feel like I'm just like really impressed that they managed to. I feel like based on how I read it in the manga, like they didn't skip out on too much. It felt like, I mean, I'd read
The only thing
that
they
part of the
skipped
manga like
out
2
on
weeks
was
ago.
the flash forwards, which I think was a good choice.
Yeah, yeah, and I think being able to do that in an hour and 22 minutes and not making it like not dragging it long, but also not basically the pacing was good, and that's yeah. I think this
And
totally worked.
this covered the first 11 chapters. Is that
It
correct?
covered the first 10 chapters.
10.
10, yeah,
Okay.
that sounds
Because I
right. Yeah.
do want to go read the first 10 just to see, because you keep talking about the flash forwards. I'm interested how different that reads,
It doesn't read that much differently, but
Yeah,
there
it's not that much.
are
or like what they are, I guess, is also the way to put it too.
it definitely adds a layer of context to, well, not even context. It adds a different part of the story that I'm wondering if he'll add or not, or if they're just going to keep it the way it is. Because it doesn't ruin anything, but it's interesting because those flash forwards are meaning something much later in the story or whatever. And so I reread the first volume before the day before the episode came out or whatever. And it was interesting seeing some of that stuff more in context. Well, not even context, because we don't know too much even now, I guess. There are certain things I picked up on, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna work them back in or not. I could see them doing it, like maybe one at the start of every episode or something like that. Though I don't think they, because some of them would be kind of like odd to put in, because a lot of them had to do with. I'm just saying, I think it would be better if you just like read it yourself, or if you waited and see if they put it
And
in.
that's
Yep.
fine. I feel like I want to read the first 10 just to see like how the experience varied.
It's
And
mostly
I
the
know you
same.
guys say it's mostly the same. That's fine.
It's like I was surprised at how
feel
much
it's hard.
it felt like how like to the T. Like I felt like I was just reading the manga all over again. I mean, obviously there were parts of it, small parts that would skip, but like I was like, damn, this is like actually like I remember like everything that comes like in order.
I
So
think to me it was when I read the manga and got to chapter 9 where the stabbing happens, I felt more shock in that moment because I wasn't really because I'm like, this is the cover girl, you can't kill the cover girl. They
Yeah,
can't.
yeah,
That's exactly what happened.
I was like, what?
Yeah, and I'm like, oh fuck. But then when I'm watching the obviously when I'm watching the anime, it's just such a much more. There's a lot of emotional momentum, I guess.
Yeah.
One of the biggest mistakes I made when reading Oshi no Ko is I read 6 chapters at first, and then I stopped. And I'm like, I'm gonna wait for Kaguya to end, and then I'm gonna read this. Big fucking mistake, because obviously I'm 3 chapters away from just a fucking huge plot twist that I don't know exists, and so it kind of like kills some of the momentum for me, I guess. I'm sure there's like it's just a different experience all around for it, because if you had to wait like a X amount of weeks, like 9 weeks or whatever, for that chapter to come out, obviously it's going to be a huge shock to you. It was a shock to me in like probably a less, maybe a more of a way, because I was removed from the manga for a bit before I went back to it, and then I was shocked there. But I feel like the anime just creates like such a different experience. Obviously, the shock is there, but like you don't have time to.
The
you don't have
momentum.
you can't like put down your phone or whatever you're reading it on and be like, oh fuck. You just have to keep watching, and then the music plays and the characters do their thing, and it's just like you don't have time to process what's happening. You just have to let your emotions take hold.
Yeah, I think the emotional momentum thing. That's why like the long run time like makes so much sense. Like not only breaking up the story, but kind of accelerating the emotional tension that leads up to that final moment. I think that's another reason that like long, yeah, just having it for an hour and 22 minutes like just makes sense. Because if you break it up, like I know there's no other way to do it, but like even if you break it up, I think like I don't know, it just wouldn't feel the same.
Like some people were like, "Oh, Crunchyroll should have gotten this. I can't believe they missed out on this. I don't want to like get high dive." I'm like, I guarantee Crunchyroll's dumbass would have broken it up into 4 episode.
Just 7 episodes.
They would have broken it up into 4 episodes like they did like the Kaguya movie, and it would have been dumb as shit. And I would have been pissed. But I'm glad High Dive got it, because they don't do dumb shit like that, as far as I know anyway. They didn't do it for this, and that's what matters.
Yep. Yeah, I thought it was good.
What's funny when you mention like emotional momentum for this is I have watched another anime that had a similar conclusion to a character that I thought was going to be a main character as like Ai's conclusion, right? Not the character arc she did, but just like death at the end, to put it in the most like broad terms. Like this is that happening in an episode 1. This is not my first time happening. So for me, I like caught on to that momentum very quickly in the second half, and I was very unhappy about it when I realized that was the plot line that was going to happen. Not literally unhappy, but like
you're like, oh,
I'm just
fuck.
sitting there like they're going to fucking kill her. This is going to happen to me again. That I really liked the character from the other series that had the same like go through an episode 1, like really like the character, and then boom, at the end she's dead. And it was the same like emotion this time, where I was like, they're gonna fucking do it to me again, these bastards. And so the emotional momentum for me was kind of funny, because I caught on to the fact that this was how the episode was gonna end, but also I have another similar enough experience to compare to it that I was just like, Fuck. Don't do it to me.
Yeah, I had a friend, and we went through. I had him go through Clannad with me. I already watched it at that point, but I'm like, okay. I don't know if I've talked about him on the podcast or not before, but I'm showing him. He watched stuff that I didn't think was like. Well, I can show you better things, and so I brought him.
Let me
I
show
brought
you
him.
the ropes, kid.
Let me. Yeah, I'm like, you're all right. Let's get some good stuff in for you, and then eventually we got to Clannad. And for After Story, I'm like, so we would like binge the fuck out of these anime, like, like full seasons in a day, like 12 episodes or whatever. But we'd never done something. So Clannad After Story is, the important parts are 22 episodes. And so I say to him, like, okay, I know how this is going to sound. We're watching all 22 in a day. And we did. And I feel like, because he's a tough nut to crack. That motherfucker has no emotion at all. He is a steel fucking wall. We're actually going to watch Oshinoko's first episode tomorrow. We have like a little group watch in the server or whatever. Yeah, this will be my third time watching it through. And I'll cry. You know what? I'm gonna cry again. Yeah, you could if you wanted to.
That's in the server. That yeah.
You would need.
I'll join.
You need an account for a Goofy website that we're gonna use, so we don't have to use Discord screen sharing. But yeah, it just keeps the quality the same for everyone, keeps us all in sync. It's nice. But yeah, we're gonna do that tomorrow. I guarantee he won't cry or anything. But it's one of those things where I feel like it's just so important. And I knew the only way he didn't cry to Clannad either. But he quote definitely felt emotion towards certain scenes or whatever, and that was good enough for me.
I will admit, I did cry at the end of this. It wasn't like a bawl because I was still in a voice call with Mars, and it was a very silent voice call for the rest of the episode.
You can't. It's hard to cry in front of the boys, and like definitely feel like when you're with other people, like you are less prone to showing vulnerability or whatever.
You gotta let it out, bro.
But like, oh yeah, I mean, I've watched the episode alone, and we're not going to be in like a voice call or anything in our watch party. We're just going to be like typing in the Goofy chat that the website gives, and so I'll let it go for the X time that I've watched the scene.
Yep,
it's just
that's fair.
It is such a well done scene. I can't understate that. It's so good.
And we it's not that we skated over it, but the lead up for her character into it was so well done. But just the way that they established that I is like this kind of flawed character, and that's important. And then you're giving us all of these motivations and like ideas behind her character that are kind of realistic to
that's actually the exact word I was going to use. That is exactly what it is. It's realistic because what, she's like 16 or something, right? 16, 17? Yeah. 16 when she got pregnant. So
and they're talking about all these things
like,
where
she's experienced so much, like in terms of like being a public figure and having to do all of this in front of like a crowd and stuff like that. That is a lot for a 16-year-old. Mm-hmm. So like expecting her to be flawed, it's like that's
and she started like doing idol stuff at 12.
At like 12, yeah.
Crazy.
So
and it's just like obviously
and she has an abusive background or whatever. It's just a tough road.
Yeah, for sure.
Obviously, like not all like real life idols are just like hate their fans, but will say shit.
No, I mean there's a level of like,
anything, but it is like it's a business, and that is their job to go up and do this. And so to see that conversation between her and the manager, where she's like, well, idols are these like happy people who love each other and give everyone smiles, and that's just like not who I am. I would have to lie. And he's just like, yeah, so what?
Yeah,
it was like a really fun moment because it's like that just feels like real to some extent.
Yeah, and then I think that the best part was like the juxtaposition of that, and then at the end, where like the fan comes and kills her, and then she said like, "Oh, I kept your like."
She remembered everything.
Yeah, and it's like, oh damn! So it was real, or like what? Yeah.
It was one of those things where it's almost like she thinks that she doesn't love.
Yeah.
All the fans and all these people, but it's like one of those things where it's like she kind of does.
Yeah.
And that's like
I thought that was a really good like detail or like thing to add there, and that really
It's
like
one of those
contributed to how
things
it was
where
good.
it's I don't want to say she came to that realization at the end of her life, but I think that was like a big moment for me with her character, where it was like, okay, she's keeps telling herself she's this liar and she doesn't love anything, she hates everyone. She's never even been able to tell her children she loves them because of this fear that she has, that she is essentially just this person of hate. And then you get that sequence, and it's like this kind of like subtext of like she's really isn't the person to some degree that she thinks she is, and that makes it even more heartbreaking to me,
Yeah,
because it was kind of like um she was just this like really good girl who, to be honest, just had so much shit going on at such a young age, getting into
yeah,
show business and having kids at 16 and all this, and it was just like
yeah. It's hard. I mean, if you think about like even in real life, like celebrities who got famous at a young age, I mean that
mhm.
is a lot. I mean to come out of that like relatively unscathed, it's like it takes a
I
lot.
mean, a lot
So
of them don't. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
they
no,
really
that's true. Like
you either
yeah,
die a hero or live to become Corey in the house.
that's one way to put it for sure. Okay, but yeah,
and
Uh,
then obviously
that's my motto. That's
we
my new
don't
motto.
talk about what happened to Corey from Corey in the house. Anyway, but I feel like during that scene, I don't think she realized it when she was talking to the fan or whatever. She's kind of spitting, but
Yep.
it's when she does say "I love you," and you kind of see like, because she realized she's gonna die, and so she's like, all right, fuck it, whatever. I just have to like take the step off the diving board here and just say it, or else I'm never gonna get the chance.
Yeah.
But
Well, it was
I
also
think
like
she,
you see all those scenes and all those things that she wants, and it's almost like she doesn't say it there, but she realizes that like what she feels for her kids is love, and
yeah,
that's why
whenever
she's
she
able
does say
to
it, and you can see like, it's like just a subtlety in the animation or whatever. It's just a wave of relief as she starts to tear up, realizing like, okay, this is real. That wasn't a lie. I do genuinely care for them. Obviously, that we knew she cared for him anyway, but it's just her own mental barrier that
Mhm.
um yeah, is blocking that there. Obviously, she is definitely like self-conscious about what others are thinking. We see her like ego surf on Twitter or whatever, and then she sees like a lightly mean comment. She's like, oh fuck.
And then that it was the same guy who complimented her afterwards, right? I think that was like the
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
whenever
he
yeah,
came
she
back
like
after.
criticized her smile, and then when she smiled
yeah,
at her kids doing the glow stick dance or whatever,
yeah.
it's
It's
like,
like
okay, that's a real smile.
classic,
Which is
classic
kind of
fan.
funny because it's him talking about like, yeah, I just can't fully support her, but he still managed to see the real smile, which is the most like Twitter fan thing ever. Being like, yeah, I just can't really get into this, but still paying attention to it anytime something happens.
I mean,
Yeah,
it did go viral though. To be fair to that guy,
That is
sure.
yeah, it's not like he searched things like, yeah, I don't know, dude, and then like literally the fucking next day or whatever, boom, baby moment. She smiles at it very brightly, and then of course she kind of like twists that moment. It's like, okay, yeah, all right, I'll use this smile from now
all
on.
right.
Then
That's the smile. Remember that one stored in the book. Um, yeah, in the I mentioned it earlier, but the way that they animated her the moment that she passed was
Mhm.
so creepy and like so well done.
yeah,
In
I feel like. And not even like in the manga was it that I'd have to I'll look at it real quick, but I don't even feel like it was that wild in
like
the
it was haunting
It's also
what I
harder in the
saw in
manga,
that
but
moment,
yeah,
which it should be, right. It's quite literally the death of like this shining star of a character that we've been following this whole 9 chapters, whatever, hour 10 minutes at that point of watching.
yeah, yeah. I thought the death scenes were done well. I mean, both of them. And then I think another thing that was done like really well. I think the performance, like the animation, like where where she was like, I mean, where the babies were there, right? That performance animation I really liked. I thought it did a good job of like, especially with like her talking over it about like, um, yeah, just her smiling and stuff like that. Like I just thought that whole thing, like the quote unquote camera work or whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's pictures, 2D, but you know what I mean, right? Like the fake camera work, and I thought that was like really good. That was probably like my favorite like bit of animation in the show.
I
This
mean,
is the most ended.
camera work's the right word because a lot of it's like
Yeah.
like 3D backgrounds and stuff, and
Sure. Oh,
you are still moving the camera around.
Fake
Of course,
camera.
the animators have to like work with that, but
And when you're animating a scene like that, I imagine the easiest way to think of it is as if you are a camera on like this sequence, right?
yeah.
That's like the most fluid way to kind of go with it.
I looked up the picture in the manga, and I mean, it's definitely not like it's very unsettling still, but it was nowhere near like what they did with her corpse in the anime.
Yeah, I think the transition from manga to anime just like benefits the show a lot. And I think they like did a good job of like taking advantage of using. I mean, we talk a lot about
another like directing that, which is probably exactly what you're gonna say when we talk about
probably,
what is good directing.
Oh, sure, yeah, that's true. Yeah,
where it was
yeah, you have an adaptation, and then I mean, it's your job to like get as much as you can out of it, right? So
yeah, there's a world where Angel Next Door had even like a percentage of the soul that this adaptation had, and I'd be a much happier human being, but that didn't happen. So yeah, I don't know. It's I'm very, very happy that it is blown up in the way it did.
The rest of the episodes are going to be like a normal length, right?
Yes, we will not be having any more hour 20
We're not going to
minute.
like though an hour 22. It's like, damn, it's pretty good.
I mean, it's fire, but like none of them are gonna.
You can't do that.
You can't do that anymore. Yeah.
Bro, release a full length movie like 6 times or whatever. Yeah, you can't do that. Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, it'd be like if they do like it into like 3 movies or something like that, it would probably not be worth doing that.
Sure. Yeah.
My guess is they covered 2 more volumes. I'd have to like look through the material again to think about where they're gonna end, but obviously that was 10 chapters in well, it was technically like 4 episodes of length basically, though I will say like I suppose like the 10th chapter was kind of like that last like little spurt basically, and so that hardly counts, I guess, towards obviously there's gonna be a lot more dialogue, I guess, going forward in like these chapters, so they'll probably get through like another 2 volumes, I would assume, throughout the next 10 episodes.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, you have more of an idea of this because you know how the arcs lay out from here, whereas I know nothing. The next episode could start like a fucking 70 chapter arc, and I would know no better than it's just starting like 5 chapters of slice of life. But I wonder how much they're gonna adapt from here. Given so this covered like 10 chapters, and I assume from here they'll probably cover somewhat normal like 2 to 3 chapters per episode.
It depends on
that feels a little short. Yeah.
Well, no, it depends on how they want to
approach it.
Yeah, because like obviously Oshi no Ko is a very, it's not action heavy or whatever, so obviously dialogue takes up a lot of the runtime. Yeah. I'd have to look through the chapters and understand it's been a while since I've read these arcs, obviously, because we're on chapter 11 in the anime or whatever. In reality, I know the last chapter I've read was chapter 115, so I'm a little removed from that content, but yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I think just such an interesting, because like obviously on its own a revenge plot isn't like a inventive story, and no, I mentioned this in my script or whatever, like no story really now is inventive. It's what you put against the story to make it unique. How you do the characters, and of course the setting as well is probably the most important part. At this point, it's basically like the backdrop is just the reality of like all sorts of entertainment, and I think that's just such an interesting like a ladder to have to climb to also, of course, figure out this revenge story. And of course, the character work it does along the way is really good about like how our two main characters handle themselves, what other characters are up to and doing. It's just it's an interesting ride. I'm very excited to see how they adapt the rest.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
really interested to see how they deal with Ruby's character from here. Just kind of with like the directions that she had gone from episode 1 and all the stuff they've built up with kind of the not the corruptness of the idol world, but kind of like the darker side and like the downsides of all of that, and then seeing how, at least at the episode 1, it feels like she's going to be going in that same direction that I had been, and how that's going, her like having directly been affected by a lot of that stuff, how that's going to kind of affect that journey.
Be interesting. No spoilers. No spoilers. No spoilers. But yeah,
My friend just finished the episode, and he went from saying that it's weird because of how it starts or whatever to saying peak fiction. So
peak fiction. Oh my god. Okay, sure.
It's crazy because this is like, I think it is very easy to get to that hour 5, hour 10 mark and really like and then she just gets ripped away from you. But it's done in such a well written way that it's like I can be mad, but I really can't be mad, right?
Okay, because what it does immediately after is like it gives you incentive to keep going. Like, yeah, we're gonna go kill this motherfucker, and so that's gonna invest a considerable amount of people.
And it's like I don't really like revenge plots that much, but I'm still invested in like, yeah, I want to know who this fucking bastard father is.
Yeah,
I'm interested.
Which is also, it's interesting how they're setting up the father right now. Because I wonder his connections with the crazy stalker fan and how like kind of like how he even found this random crazy college kid to contact and stuff like that. There's so many questions. There's probably a really high likelihood that even you don't know some of the answers to a lot of this, but I don't know. I just have all these questions about this father character because we know literally nothing at this point through one episode, other than the fact that clearly he is the big bad at the current moment. So
yeah, I had some like theories about who the father is, but I don't know yet. So we'll figure it out.
yeah, I don't know.
I don't think I know enough characters to have any theories. I've met like
my mind goes crazy, bro.
I met like 2 adult male characters. The manager, who that would be a crazy plot twist, but I think we're well.
That's what I was thinking.
I think we're well past the point. Where
the manager straight up asked who the father was to I.
Hey,
so
you never know. You never know. She's bluffing, bro.
She also was like calling up the father, like, "Hey, you should meet your kids." And the manager has very clearly met the kids. So
yeah,
I'm leaving my options open again.
I will say that I don't have all the answers even, so it's something you'll learn far in the future.
As I would hope that you don't have all the answers.
Yeah,
I would hope that you probably have some answers, but that's something I don't need to know.
Yeah, there's been interesting developments, I guess.
But it also makes me wonder how this father character will end up developing, because a lot of times when a character is built up to be this like super bad character at the beginning of a series, I feel like it usually doesn't end up being that black and white later in the series.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what this story will be, maybe it's not, but it's interesting to think about if the father doesn't end up being just an absolute shitbag, how that would even be done,
Yeah, I can't see it any other way. Like, I don't know. Like, just the way it's been presented, it just feels like.
I also can't see it any other way, but at the same time, I know that like from a
options
narrative
open,
perspective, from a narrative perspective, it would be a lot more interesting if he is a more complex character than just being a cartoon villain who wanted to kill Ai because he didn't want news to get out that he had children with her.
Yeah. I'm very interested. That's all.
It's pretty cool. Now my friend
Did you
seems
guys have
like he
anything
wants.
else that you like particularly liked about this
I,
first episode compared to like other shows?
compared to other
Besides the
shows,
art, besides the plot, I guess we've talked about um,
I mean, I feel like
the
we.
music. I don't
I
know.
feel
It
like
wasn't like
I
a
mean,
super
the
focal point. It wasn't like a
the music
it's
did what it needed to do, especially like
yeah.
I feel like the only time I ever like really noticed it was during the stabbing scene where like we had like
yeah.
really slow but heavy piano or organ, whatever the fuck, I don't know my instruments. Anyway, it was the dun 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 or whatever, and I liked that the noise resonated with my monkey brain at that moment.
Yeah, I
Yep.
thought the sound engineering was done
The audio
well.
engineering.
Um, it wasn't like crazy, but I also didn't notice it in any bad ways. They only had one um like inserty type song in it, which was the I song that they used a couple times, and that was a nice song.
We do have the full version of it. I think there were like
Yeah,
two songs technically, but I think one might have been like instrumental or some shit. I don't remember.
I think they showed like part of the other song that she was doing that was in the dance
I am
sequence,
pretty
but I
sure
don't.
they released two songs.
Yeah,
I guess while we're at it, did either of you watch the music video for the opening?
I did not.
Yes, I did actually yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very good music. The author actually wrote like a novel that they kind of like based the music video on. Like it's being fan translated now, so it's not something we have right now. It's like Ai's backstory a little bit more
It's this one,
into
right?
that.
Just making sure.
Interesting.
So yeah, I think watching the music video is it's definitely worth. It's a good music video. It was well
Yeah,
directed.
cool.
Pretty emotional on its own, honestly.
Yeah, it's good.
And it's also
Um,
my banner or part of my
Then I
banner.
will watch it later
Yes.
because I
wait, real quick. Oh, that
kind
is
of
true.
forgot
Yeah, it
that
is.
that. I know you guys had talked about it before, but I was on serious stay away from spoiler watch, and I kind of forgot some of the things that I needed to watch now that I have, watched episode 1, and I'm
Well,
not
the
as
music
much
video
on
did
spoiler watch.
release on the same day as the anime, so thank you. There's nothing to spoil. It had been kind of a dick move to release it before the what's it called? As it
Yeah, and
yeah.
everyone's like, "Oh yeah, let's watch this," and then
But like the
like,
the
"Oh,
lyrics are like very tied to the the story and stuff. It's a really good song that fits the anime and fits the character. It's so interesting of like, it's a character you lose in 10 chapters, but she has such an impact on the everything.
mhm.
Even when she's not, it's so good. And the Kage author has another manga coming out. I don't know what the fuck it's about, but
Is it out? Any of it out yet? Or is it
it's going to
just
come out later
made
this
up?
month. Let me look for the fucking tweet. But can he three-peat is the question.
Yeah, there's two
The other
bangers.
thing I'm worried about is this may or may not have happened. This is kind of just like fan opinions and people putting their own thoughts into stuff. But I do feel like as he got more into writing Oshi no Ko, it kind of felt like Kaguya. Not that the quality dropped, but almost like he got a little less into it. I don't want to say bored once again.
I think he
Uh,
I think he genuinely did try with the ending because like he didn't just end it like boom art one chapter
Yeah,
we're done. I think it's a complicated series to like end on a because it's a very goofy series as well, and so ending it in a proper way is maybe a little difficult. But he did take his time with the ending. Like we got
yeah,
we got all these send offs and stuff. He didn't just end it like that. So I think while it wasn't like the
and that's why I
craziest
don't
ending.
say, yeah, that's why I don't want to like look too much into it or say like, oh, he got bored of Kaguya because he was having fun writing Oshi no Ko or stuff like that. But it'll be interesting. I hope that this series, which I don't know how much longer Oshi no Ko has in it because I know nothing about the story.
It
But
feels
based
like
on like Kaguya, I assume it probably just has a couple years. Assuming he goes about the same length.
I don't feel like it. So we're either in the last arc or the second to last. I can't see it going past another arc or two.
without
Um,
crazy development or something.
something would have to go fucking stupid.
Yeah.
The thing I'm most worried about is I don't want any characters I like to die, because I feel like the series could take that route if it really wanted to, and I'd be very upset.
That's another thing I'm kind of curious about. Obviously, this first episode and this first 10 chapters were not dark, but like
I mean, it's
dying.
kind of dark.
It was kind of dark, and I don't know if the rest of the series. You don't have to answer this.
Yeah, I'm not going to answer anything.
That's
No.
not the point.
No spoilers.
It is a thought of like, is the rest of the series going to be quite as dark as the first episode is, or is that just kind of like, yeah, we did a dark prologue to get to where we are, and then the rest is still gonna have some of like the darker themes that it has, but maybe less like, yeah, we're just gonna kill off this character right now, stuff like that. I have to imagine it's gonna be a little lighter than episode 1.
It has to be, yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think just being like super dark for like the rest of it would be like really weird.
I put in our chat so he once again he's done being a an artist or whatever, and so
It's coming out soon.
he's just gonna be writing this.
right,
Yeah, he writes, and then they mentioned the artist Nishizawa 5mm, and it comes out like end of April 27th.
We don't know what it's about, do we?
No, I mean, look at that visual. We have like discount Pikachu or whatever.
Right. It's freaking a ventriloquist. Like what?
I mean, at this point with Aka, even if we did think we knew what it was about, do we really trust that?
Yeah, I tried to look up what the fuck the name of it means, and I can't really like find anything as to what that means. Like we had like I don't know how many meanings Renai has. Like Renai Flops was translated to Love Flops, but I don't know if this is like another like love something. But I don't know.
It'll be interesting. I mean, at this point, he's on 3P watch, so I think
he is definitely on 3P watch. Yeah,
most people will probably be at least reading this for an extensive time to at least know what the story is about at a minimum. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too, where it's like I don't know if I'll read this when it comes out.
I'll probably read it when it comes out, just so I can be there to witness either the fall or the repeat.
I think at this point, I won't do with this what I did with Oshi no Ko and just leave it alone, because I think by the time I heard about Oshi no Ko, the idea of an anime coming out was somewhat realistic. And it took a couple years, but this hasn't even had chapter 1 come out. So at this point, I would be signing up to wait like probably 5 years or something.
Yeah. What's goofy about this one is he had a Twitter tournament arc with artists to see who got to draw his manga.
That's actually really hype. That's one of the most badass things I've ever heard from a manga.
He's like, I'm fucking done with this shit. Y'all can choose who wants to be the slave. It doesn't make it much easier though, I guess, on like the artist if they don't have to figure out the story either or like research anything. Which is like why Dr. Stone was able to come out weekly or whatever. Is the author can focus on his craft, like studying shit, while Boichi could just do the doodles. And yeah, like some people are concerned, like, will this affect Oshi no Ko? But he's not. He was drawing and writing Kaguya at the same time, as opposed to just like.
That's really impressive, actually.
Yeah. So
juggle all of that.
Yeah, drawing, writing, and then writing for another series. But I think
it's just a weekly thing, right? So I mean, you have to.
Yeah, weekly Young Jump or whatever.
Yeah.
So he'll have 2 weekly series to write for, but my guess is he probably knows where Oshi no Ko feels like a much more concrete story than Kaguya.
Oh yeah, for sure. Kaguya's like kind of all over the place in a good way.
I mean, if you're saying that this should be the second to last arc at worst, and granted, you don't know that.
I don't. Yeah, I could be fucking wrong.
If that's the vibes it has, I have to assume that he probably knows the rest of the series.
Even. Based on like the flash forwards from the first like 10 chapters or whatever, I did notice one like extremely small detail that that makes me feel like he has, for a very long time, planned where this is going. Maybe not like every minute detail, but I think he knows where he wants to end and like how he's gonna get there.
Yeah, it's the same in the sense that, like, I think for One Piece, Oda has probably always known the conclusion of the series to some degree. But I'm sure he didn't know little details of, like, this arc and that arc.
Yeah, and like it could change. Like I think what makes a good author is like the ability to realize like, okay, maybe this idea for an ending was cool at the time but doesn't work now. I want to take it a different direction. Always be flexible, I guess, is the big thing. Because it's kind of what happened with ReZero is we're in arc, well, we just started arc 8 actually. But arc 8 is actually like arc 7 part 2 because the author was like, no, we'll never have another arc as long as arc 4, surely, which was all of season 2. And then an arc 7 came along, and everything that was supposed to be in volume 32, he had to make an entirely separate volume for with volume 33, which is the conclusion of arc 7, part 1. And then arc 8 just started, which it probably won't be that long of an arc, but the fact that he had to split it in two, you know, sometimes shit happens. You do have an idea or you have things you want to convey. And it's important to realize, like, you can't trap yourself into thinking, like, I need to end it this way or whatever.
Yeah.
Because you grow as an author over time.
Well, and I think there's no specific series that comes to mind, but I'm sure there are series that were probably hurt by the fact that they had an ending in mind and they stuck to that ending.
I feel like
by the time they got there, it maybe didn't make as much sense.
I feel like that could have happened with Attack. That's one of my Attack on Titan shitty ending theories. That it was either a paid inside job to make the ending shit, or it was just something he decided a long time ago and then didn't change it up.
I also, to some degree, feel like that might be.
But that's a tinfoil hat kind of thing.
Yeah.
I feel like if you subscribe to, or like what's a word, like just pick one ending to like go into like early on in the story. Like,
if you set it in stone, you're gonna.
It's like as you
restrict
write,
yourself.
Yeah, it's not only restricted. It has the potential to like ruin it because, you know, the steps to get there, if those change anywhere along the way, then you might have to like, you know, change some other stuff around to like make the ending good. It just sacrifices that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not an author. I don't know like the process of like actually writing and stuff like that. So maybe it's okay. Maybe they have like an outline, but like it's hard.
There's two types of writers that I guess most people look to, and it's what you call a discovery writer, which is like you sit down, you're like, all right, this is my idea, let's just fucking see where it goes, and you go from there. And then there's outline writers who do make an outline, and it's just there's no right way to do it. It just depends on you. But I feel like you, also, in order to be successful, need to be comfortable like changing plans if it comes to it.
Yeah, like I could write an outline for, you know, the Gochuucast anime and be like, all right, episode 1, they start a podcast. At episode 200, Daniel's dead and they write the final podcast.
That's crazy. That's messed up.
And have that timeline, right? But then
199 episodes in, you're like, fuck, maybe I don't want to kill Daniel.
Yeah, maybe Daniel shouldn't die. And well, what does the end look like if Daniel doesn't die? And then I, you know, play with it, think about it. I'm like, oh, that's kind of good. And so, you know, we have to go another 100 episodes, but Daniel didn't die. Because that's what the people wanted, because Daniel's the fan favorite. And has 100,000 views on Dan Machi video.
Yeah, we're coming up on my prophesized death. It's the 49th episode. I have 3 left before I kick the bucket. But yeah, the Don Machi video has been very good for the channel. My goal is whatever the fuck the Kidrus video is at, because Ajax's like, oh, you're not a real YouTuber until you beat this fucking Mario blooper video. And so I'm like, all right, give me a minute. And I'm on my way there. I don't remember what it said. I feel like it was like 150,000, but I don't remember.
Something like that, yeah.
I'm gonna try and find it right now.
Speaking of, if you are anyone who listens to the podcast but somehow doesn't watch Daniel's main channel, he has a main channel.
What are you doing, brother?
Fun videos.
Okay. I apologize to the audio onlys. I have to click on this hotel Mario bloopers to find the views. Okay,
Oh my
I
gosh,
paused it.
audio
Oh
only
god.
indies.
Okay.
I get to discriminate against them.
Okay,
Oh.
it's at a little bit over 150,000. I'm almost there. I'm at 121,000 right now. So I could beat Mario bloopers. I'm on my way.
Mario people. I actually it'd be crazy if we had podcast view. Not crazy, because there probably is at least one person, but a podcast listener that just has no idea that who you are and your main channel.
Or
Yeah,
some random guy, bro.
Just
YouTube
some
recommendations.
guy-
Some
Some
dude.
guy on Spotify who found us. It just only listens to the Spotify. That's my favorite fan.
Go look. I haven't looked at our statistics in a while on our audience. I wonder, like, because surely I wonder if there's any, like, well, surely there are consistent viewers or whatever. Let's see.
I mean, yeah, 'cause we
Analytics.
had the German audience for a while. We still have
Yeah,
some
the German audience.
Yeah, our United States audience is our biggest one. But the
Of course,
Spotify like percentage like of domination on like what platforms people use has been going down a fair amount.
Which is
It used to be like in the 70s at 64 right now.
They got tired of being audio only indies.
Yeah, we have a 6%
Well, it's
female
also,
viewer base. Shout out to probably like the one female
Nice.
that watches this.
It's
You poor
it's also
thing.
like Spotify is less discoverable than a lot of the other
Yeah, that's true.
stuff that we have through Anchor.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
as that
that's true.
Spotify number goes down, it most likely means we have more organic viewers and not just our friends who were like, "Hey, watch our episode."
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. We no longer get 1 cent per video now, by the way. We lost our because Anchor changed into Spotify for podcasters.
Oh,
so
you're right.
so we
Oh.
lost that, and now to get our 1 cent of video or listen or whatever, we have to get 100 listeners within 60 days or whatever, and we're halfway there to that. It's not impossible, surely.
We have to like re-earn it. Is that how it goes?
I guess. Not that it means anything anyway, to be honest, but yeah, I made more within like 0.5 seconds of enabling YouTube monetization than I did of all of our time podcasts. And granted, there's a big difference between getting like 13 plays of a podcast thing and 100,000 views on a video or whatever, but I don't know. Anyway, not about the money. I just find it goofy that we have to re-earn what we rightfully gained already.
Yeah, it's just funny. We can't have our weekly earnings meetings that the listeners don't know about. Where
Yeah, we were so
jokingly
close
get
to $5.
Let's go.
Let's
That's a
go.
milestone.
We're at we've like $4 in the fucking the account or whatever.
So, speaking of the main channel, so we just spent like an hour and a half talking about Oshinoko.
Yeah.
Is that going to be special leaks here for the podcast listeners? That could be the next big video on the main channel.
So big leaks for the podcasters. The video's already out by the time you're listening to this.
Oh,
It was just Friday, right? So
Yeah. So today we're recording on a Thursday. The video will be released Friday. And that episode releases Saturday. So that one's already spoiled. I can give the other insider leaks. So there's like, I don't know. There's 3 things I'm cooking besides. Oh, I say I'm cooking. I need to wait. So Heavily in Delusion and Hell's Paradise, I will likely make videos on both of them, unless something changes within like the next episode or 2 for both of them. I just want a little more content to work with both of them, especially Hell's Paradise. That one will be probably like later in the season, honestly.
You didn't read either of those, right?
No, I haven't. I'm like I figured out the strategy for picking anime to watch. If the name sounds cool, then it's probably gonna be good. I'm like
highly rated.
I'm like three.
gamers, right?
I'm like 3 for 4 on that right now. It started with did it start with Licorice Recoil? I feel like it started like one before that. Licorice Recoil sounded cool, and I watched that and it ended up being really good. I need to I gotta go through my enemy. God dang it, dude. I thought about this earlier, and I was like, yeah, Boshi the Rock sounded cool, and it ended up slapping, so I was 2 there. I'm trying to think of, what the fuck else did I watch?
Too Cute Crisis sounded cool.
No, not quite what I was going for there. Because I know there is because I've been Illusion Slap, so that's like 3, but there's a 4th one where I'm like, okay, that title's cool, but it ended up being trash. I can't remember.
Surely it wasn't Orient, right?
No, fuck Orient, dude. Oh, Revenger, that's what it was. Revenger sucked. Revenger fucking sucked. Fuck Revenger. So I looked at like the poster for it and the name, I'm like, would be cool. Wasn't cool. It sucked. But yeah, I'm not going to talk about Revenger. Definitely not going to talk about Orient.
That's not a cool name. Not a cool enough name.
No, not really. It doesn't. It's just kind of like Orient.
It's
like,
just Orient. Yep.
There's no oomph
What about
behind
gamers,
it.
bro? What about gamers?
There's no.
I like cool. I like cool one word, Dave. Speaking of names, tying back to Oshi no Ko, I didn't know that the English translation to Oshi no Ko was my star.
So
That's so much.
It's like a double meaning, isn't it?
It's complicated.
Is
Yeah.
Well, it's not really a double. So what it would translate to, so Oshi is like an idol culture word or whatever. That kind of means like your Oshi is like your goat, basically. Like that's your favorite idol or whatever. And then Ko is child. So
Yep.
You can kind of take it to mean my star. If you like maybe look at it from like Ai's point of view or whatever. My idol's child is another translation I see here, but you could use the subtitle like mother and child or mother and children is the subtitle for the series, not like the translation, but you could say that as well. Personally, I think Oshi no Ko just sounds cooler than all of those.
I agree. That was the point I was.
Yeah, it's fine.
I saw
clean. It's
I
clean.
saw it under the name My Star, and I was kind of like, I guess that's cool that that's the translation, but that name sucks.
I don't think my star is like that bad, but it's also like not completely accurate.
It's just generic. It doesn't sound like it. Just sounds boring. My star, like bro, come on.
Mm-hmm.
Oshi no Ko it's good. It's clean. It's like not super complicated. It's not like 15 words like some other ones.
Yeah,
but it's like
we're just English speaking people. Like that sounds kind of cool.
Yeah, we're clowns.
Yeah,
we're way too far in the weeb culture to be afraid of a Japanese title sounding cool.
I don't know. Some of them are just like so long.
I mean, you can't make a long title sound cool. In
yeah, that's true.
In anything,
there's a limit. There's a threshold.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Fuck is we're in. All right, I wonder if anything cool in fall. Any cool titles? I doubt it. Yeah, no. There's a show called Liar Liar that's either gonna be fire or absolute garbage. Probably garbage, actually. I think I've seen promotional material from it. And it did not look good. Maybe I'm capping though. I don't know. I guess I'll find out eventually. Even though like the real peak fiction coming out in summer is going to be the vending machine isekai, of course.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. Everyone's favorite.
Honestly, I'll probably watch it. That's the worst part.
I'm gonna watch it. It sounds like fucking dog shit. I have to watch it.
It's your obligation.
It's my
Okay,
vending
worst
machine isekai. How could I not bite on something so stupid? That's just free, that's free content.
It's the same. I'm a fan of In Another World with my smartphone, so this is just another meme gone too far.
See, that's not even like absurd enough. Okay, I guess Mars is reading the manga. Base Kana fan.
Yeah. He is
All right.
reading the manga. It's okay, Daniel. Summer, I'm gonna drag you to watch Fate Strange Fake Live.
I'm not gonna watch it anyway, so it's not much of a drag. It's more we're going together. If it ends up actually being an AX.
I pray that it's at least the same as the Hololive concert, where it's like in the area. I will gladly miss a day of AX to go find Fate Strange Fake if I somehow were able to get tickets. If it's like
fucking Devils and Part-Timers coming back next season. God dang it.
Yeah, I read that, yeah.
I don't want to watch that. Man.
I didn't watch season 2, so
then don't. What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah, don't. Pro tip, don't watch season 2. Then you'll feel obligated to watch season 3.
What is this Horimiya thing?
It's just going to be stories they skipped in the manga, or not the manga, in the anime from the manga, because they jumped like 100 chapters or whatever. So they got a little bit of material to work with.
Fair enough. It's okay. We'll talk more in depth about the summer in the future when we have our summer anime podcast episode.
Yes, indeed. I'll be dead
And
by then, actually.
Also, hopefully, when there's more stuff,
He's
there's
just
like,
dedicated to his death.
I think we should actually do an episode that's just me and Spat.
That'd be really
I would
funny.
be
We already
interested.
had me and Daniel.
I
so.
could just sit here and just like give fucking like director's cut commentary over it after you finish me talking over your all's podcast, critiquing it.
that'd be pretty funny.
I feel like the world would
April Fool's idea for next.
the world would like implode if I didn't like say welcome to whatever episode of the Gochuucast. It's been that way
That'd
for
be funny. We'll just introduce it. You just like we'll type out the intro and we'll just introduce it. As if, like, nothing is different.
Yeah, we would either do the intro bar for bar, one of us, or just like totally make a mockery of it. And I would just be like, podcast, let's go. And it's just that's the intro.
It would be very interesting to see how that would go, though.
Yeah, that'd be funny.
It'd be a little. I am sad that I didn't think about, because we had an episode that fell literally on April Fools. I was so mad that I didn't remember to AI synthesize our voices to make a podcast episode of that and just upload that instead. That would have been a lot of work, but it'd been so funny.
April Fools is like so unfunny sometimes, so like I didn't want to say anything because like it's just as like a.
Yeah, we could have talked about
like, you don't have it planned out. It has a tendency to be like super cringe.
We could have talked about like Western cartoons for an episode.
Really
we could have done something.
Wait, wasn't this a plan and we just totally forgot?
I think we probably forgot
Dude,
about
I feel
it.
like we talked about this one.
I think I actually mentioned Western cartoons and we definitely just forgot.
Just do one, not even for April Fools. Just have a Western cartoons episode, just for fun.
Yeah, we kind of missed the mark. We have to like wait years for it to like fall on April 1st again.
I mean, it doesn't have to be exact.
It just it's when you become big time and you open your Patreon and everything will have special.
Yeah, we'll have bonus episodes or whatever. Yeah. I guess like the real goal would be this show to self-sustain itself, so I don't have to self-fund out of pocket.
There's no funding for this show anyway.
Well, no. We used to have funding. 1 cent an episode or a play. It's gone now. We'll have to earn that back, but which isn't impossible. Well, it's probably impossible. It's not impossible. It's very unlikely that we will be getting that back anytime soon.
It's not like we have a cost for doing this anyway. We just show up. For 2 hours.
There is no. There's no spending fees here, no business expenses.
Daniel barely even edits these unless we say
I literally don't. The last time I edited is when I said a word that could be seen as discriminatory towards people with mental disabilities, and I had to go cut that out. But other than that, I haven't.
Careful.
Oh. I can't wait for that to be like my downfall in the future. Like I blow up, someone goes into the episode, and it's. Yeah, and they see that I said something that they technically they don't know what I said. The word doesn't exist there anymore. But
I think the funniest thing to think about in the context of like getting canceled in the future is things that we could say today that are not cancelable that in 20 years will be cancelable. If that makes sense.
Like anime, it's not correct to call it anime anymore. There's a different term.
Yeah, we're appropriating Japanese culture by calling it anime. Yeah.
But you get what I'm saying. Like I think because example of that word you're talking about was still a word that people should not have said 20 years ago, but it would also not have been something that would have been straight canceled for on the dot. And so I think about like what are going to be the things that in 2043 would get someone canceled for having said in 2023 that were like totally normal.
Liking Oshinoko.
Yeah, the series ending just ends up being so fucking awful. It's taboo to speak about it. I hope that doesn't happen. I can't think of anything that like I don't know. We'll just have to like someone will have to like invent a slur about I don't know.
It's like AI has progressed to the
AI has
point
a slur.
that,
Yeah.
that AI is now a slur.
Calling them like a bot or like a fucking like
Yeah,
scrap.
yeah.
Let's call them
A
scrap.
robot.
We call them scrap in the future, and that's like
Oh, okay.
that's their N word or whatever.
Whoa. Okay, okay, dude.
I'm just saying.
No, I agree. I think the
AI
concept
slurs. Yeah.
I think the concept's interesting to think about, like what things won't be socially acceptable 20 years from now that are socially acceptable today.
Yeah, that or we just North Korea starts like a nuclear holocaust by attacking some country nearby, and then the world gets dragged into war or whatever. You know, the classic. But I'll be dead by a few weeks, so it'll be fun.
Yeah. Only a couple more episodes to go.
I'll have to send over the files to make sure someone else can keep the podcast going.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You can bring Chimp over to replace me.
I don't think it's possible to schedule with them.
Could you imagine a podcast of Chimp, Spat, and me?
Oh, that'd be crazy. That'd be good. That goes so crazy.
I'll be asking God for laptop permissions up in the
yeah, like
so I can watch it.
It's like it would be like 50 minutes of like or whatever, like trying to figure out whether Chimp is like serious or not. You know what I mean? Like, it's like
I sometimes I wonder if he actually wanted to do a podcast, but I don't think I ever could have done it. I don't think it'd be possible. Because he does one now with Joey and Moet, but it's like
King Moet.
But like when we were having the initial discussions, he didn't seem too serious about it. I was like, all right, fuck it, all right.
He's like, what was it? What was the idea? It was like
he said something random, and
Waka
Flocka
or something.
Yeah,
like
you
that.
said something stupid, and you just went along with it. And I got left at the dust.
Chimp.
I'm like, well, fuck.
It's so funny.
Yeah,
it's so funny.
Chimp is hilarious.
I love how you guys are like sworn enemies, but you guys are like both like Philadelphia sports fans. It's just the funniest thing to me.
I don't even know where this rivalry came from.
I don't know, but it's so funny. It's actually really funny. Whatever. I don't think it's serious, but you know.
It's not. We have each other added on Discord. I don't think he would have added me if he genuinely hated me. I don't think
it's an act. It's to spice up.
He's always in character, I suppose is the best way to put it. Yeah, I don't know. I just need to get the main channel to the point where I can like laugh at his channel, and then I can have like
it's a competition now.
Have the dominance in
dude.
this rivalry. I have to make a video that will surpass whatever his top view is, which like I feel like it's like 700,000 or something like that. It was, but I don't remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
which
that
is
super old video.
That might take a while to beat that one.
As long as you're enjoying the videos you're making, it'll happen eventually.
Yeah, you hit it big.
I mean, I've said this. I think your videos there's effort and love put into them.
Yeah,
and that,
I agree.
Like, to me, as long as you're doing that and you're still enjoying doing it, it will eventually like
you need more red arrows in your thumbnails. That's the key.
I had one red arrow. It did procure 10,000 views, but that wasn't. It was a boat to the rock, whatever.
Yeah.
So it was pretty free anyway. Yeah, Chimpak's #1 video is 777,000 views. I do break into his top 3 though. Like I have, and it's all like it's all clickbait. So in terms of real videos, I win. Because his big video is how to get Chinese 100% of the time. Definitely a troll video. And his second one is like how to get max happiness or some shit in ORS. And then but then that's when I would take over because it drops from like 200,000 to 93.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it was like 9 years ago or whatever. That's probably like the height of Pokemon. I feel like it was like Gen 6 area, at least in terms of like YouTube viewership. Maybe maybe I'm just not around the scene enough. Or at least that old style of Mon's content is definitely not what it used to be. Like, I feel like the focus is definitely a lot more now on like the long form challenge run bullshit.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of long form, this was a long episode.
We are still recording, right?
Bro,
I'm not
there's
gonna
no
lie.
way you just said
I'm not
that.
gonna lie. I
There's no
forgot.
way you just said
I thought we were just chilling after the podcast, and I realized like just now
Yeah,
that like, oh yeah, we never actually ended the episode.
yeah, it's a good thing you didn't reveal your racist tendencies, and that would have been a really unfortunate.
Okay, whoa.
I'm
We're
kidding.
still recording, by the way.
Yeah, I fucking know we're still recording. I have the button in front of me.
You just want to expose.
I'm just throwing some. I have to, before I perish, I have to make sure you all downfall with me. But anyway, speaking of long form content, that's the end of this long form piece of content. I think this is. I feel like we're fucking breaking record. This is our second longest episode now. I'm pretty sure. We're at an hour 50.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're just kind of
not.
I mean, to be fair, like I said, we were kind of just chilling for the last like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Which is good. That's podcast vibes. But I totally forgot we were even still doing the podcast. Oops.
But yeah, speaking of the podcast, you can find us on YouTube at Is the Order an Anime Podcast. Can't miss it. We're like literally the only thing you could ever possibly find by typing that in. If you want to go to the audio only side of things, you can find our. If you go to the YouTube, you can find our. Well, fuck. Do I have to change those links? I'm going to assume the Anchor link. I think when I type in Anchor in my browser, it redirects me to Spotify. So I'm going to assume those Anchor links still work. If they don't, no one clicks them anyway, and so it doesn't really matter. But you can go down into the description down below, and you can go to the audio only from there. It will link to the Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc., wherever you want to listen. I can only. I hope someone like screams to their Alexa to start playing the Gochuucast like every week. But yeah, you can find new episodes every single week, most of the time, unless something tragic happens, every Saturday at 3 p.m. I guess we're in Eastern Daylight Time now, until until the final goofy switch.
Yeah, is there one more switch?
Yeah, it'll be November is the last one we have, and then we're done. Which I'm so fucking ready to be done with it. But yeah, speaking of being done, we're done with the episode. Thank you and goodbye.